What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to Best of the West. I am your host, Jake Thomas, and as always, joining me, Stacey Blackwood. Stacey, how you doing tonight, brother?
Man, I can't complain one bit. Just hanging in there, getting ready for a vacation here after today. So,
All
looking
right,
forward to that, and just ready to talk some SEC basketball, some Super Bowl, just whatever comes up. The chat is going to be open, so we're excited about that and excited to see what everybody out there has to say.
absolutely, man. I when we was talking this afternoon, getting everything lined up, I said, topic Super Bowl, SEC hoops talk, and just any random thing that comes up from the chat, or if we have a random thought or two, we can throw in as well. But man, going to the Super Bowl, what a thrilling game, honestly. I mean, it was neck and neck, and I mean, there for a while, it looked like the Bengals and Joey Burrow was going to take care of business, and the Rams, their defense stood strong there late in the fourth quarter, and the Rams got the ball back and made that late touchdown drive. And man, it was a crazy game. But congratulations to the Rams. Aaron Donald finally got his ring, and if there's anybody that deserves one, it's definitely him. I
And
mean,
Matt Stafford.
and Matt Stafford too, of course. But Stafford didn't really look that good in the game. But Cooper Cup, man, that kid is unreal. I mean, I don't know if you can call him a kid. He's probably I think he's late 20s, early 30s now, maybe. But he's the MVP of the Super Bowl, and he had an awesome game. What did you think about the game?
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic game, and I gotta disagree a little bit on the Stafford part. The two interceptions are talked about a lot, but the one was,
Mhm.
he's just trying to heave one up in the end zone.
Yeah,
Not a just a terrible play, just slightly underthrew it, and the other one was a tip pass. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. But
right.
and he come through when it counted. I don't know if you saw the slow motion angle of the no look pass he threw to Cooper Cup on that last drive. I don't know if you saw that or not. There's a tweet out about it. It's incredible. He literally was not looking when he hit Cooper Cup on the last drive across the middle of the field. He was not even looking there.
Wow,
It's
that's
incredible. So
amazing.
if you haven't seen that yet, look that up.
Yeah,
It's pretty crazy, but it was a fun game. Uh, the referees awful. I mean,
yeah,
they missed that blatant offensive pass interference on Cincinnati that happened on the first play of the second half.
yeah,
Um, was the first play of the second half? Yeah, it was, wasn't
yeah. I think it was. Yeah.
it? But and then that the last sequence there in the red zone, when Cincinnati was on defense, just the refs are terrible, man. I don't know how these people can be that bad.
It was awful officiating for sure. I mean, I think it was like the first or second drive. It might not have been the second. It was later on in the first quarter. Ramsey could, he did kind of grab. I think it was T Higgins
Hmm.
there potentially, and kind of got himself back and make a play there at the goal line. Um, they missed that. They missed several calls, and that blatant face mask pull down for T Higgins and to get wide open. It was awful. I don't know how you not call that. But
Right.
it's Super Bowl. I don't know if you watched the halftime show. I didn't watch a single second of it. Um, I just I'm not a big rap guy, so I didn't really catch it. Did you watch any of it?
Yeah, I watched it, and I talked last week about how I'm not really there for the halftime show. I'm there for the
Right.
game, but it was kind of nostalgic for me because all those artists were really popular when I was growing up. So
Yeah, that's true.
it was kind of nostalgic in that sense, and I enjoyed it personally, and I'm going to kind of go on a little mini rant. I'm glad you brought up the halftime show.
Hmm.
There people kill me when they think that there should the type of music they listen to is the only type of music there is.
Right. Exactly.
Like, no matter who the Super Bowl picks to do the halftime show, there's gonna be people that doesn't like that type of music. I mean, that's just the truth.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, I don't know why the people who first of all these people on Facebook and Twitter say they hadn't watched no NFL game, but then all of a sudden they hate the halftime show of the Super Bowl. Well, so are you watching NFL or not?
Right. Exactly.
And so I it just gets on my nerves. I mean, like, everybody has different taste in music, and that's okay.
Right.
It's freaking America. If you don't like
Exactly.
rap music, that's fine. If you do, that's fine.
Hmm.
But you
Right.
don't have to say it's the worst halftime show ever just because it's not your style of music.
Yeah.
Because to some people, it was the best halftime show ever. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just kind of a mini rant. It gets on my nerves when people think the type of music they listen to is the only type of music that should be listened to everywhere else in the world. So
Yeah.
I mean, just dumb.
Yeah. We'll go off topic just a little bit. It's still about the Super Bowl, but I asked this question to the guys on SEC at the Dark a few weeks ago. I kind of worded it wrong on there, but I'll ask you, what is the best halftime performance you have witnessed in your lifetime so far? Because the way I asked it, that I was asking what's the best Super Bowl halftime show ever, and of course they said what hadn't happened yet. I guess that's a fair point, but I guess I should have worded it as in your lifetime. What's the best Super Bowl halftime show you've seen in your lifetime?
Man, that's tough. I don't know that I could really just specify one. I really enjoyed this year's
Hmm.
Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, Eminem, but I don't know, man. I can't really think of anything that just really stands out to me if I'm being honest.
To me, mine is Prince.
That's
Yeah.
probably it. That's probably it.
I mean, it was pouring down rain. He never missed a beat. And when Purple Rain came on, it was just a perfect setup when that happened. And
Mhm.
I would never forget that moment. And I was like a year older. You was probably two when Michael Jackson did it in '92. And people say that was like a really, really good one because I don't remember that. It's in my
Right.
lifetime, but being a baby, I definitely don't remember it. Cody's in the chat. He said this year was a great halftime show, and then Janet Timberlake. He wants to know what about them rebels in that portal. They
Oh
did
yeah,
pretty good.
they hit the portal hard. They did a great job. I think Jackson Dart is a great pickup. Um,
Yeah.
I think he has a chance to be an elite college quarterback. So I've liked him since I saw him play high school. I guess when he was probably a junior on TV, and I was like, God, that dude is good. And at the time, he only had offers from like Utah and BYU. So um,
Wow.
he's a special talent. And I think his best football's ahead of him, and he'll fit in great with Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, and I mean Lane's building a monster down there at Ole Miss, and you know, they got a linebacker today too. Apparently, I ain't seen that. But they
I
also got
seen
a
a
wide receiver that
I seen a post on it, but I don't remember who it was, guy.
yeah, they got a good wide receiver. They hit that portal hard and really and did really good. Since we're talking about the portal, another team that hit the portal real hard, and it's kind of funny. They pretty much took all the second and third string guys from Mississippi State and Ole Miss, and that's Southern Miss. I mean, it's crazy how what they did in the portal, and I mean they got a whole brand new team, and they could be building something down there. I think they're moving conferences, or are they still stuck in the Conference USA? I can't remember if there was one of the ones that went.
I feel like they're moving, but it's man, there's been so much realignment
Oh
that
my
it's hard to keep up
gosh,
with.
it is. It's crazy, but um, I don't. I you think the portal's done now, or you think there still be
Oh
some
no,
this
no, no.
summer? Yeah.
There'll be stuff going on because um, you know, a lot of people don't transfer and or like Henry To'o didn't join Alabama until the summer. So um there's a lot that can happen between now and fall camp. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
nowhere near over.
Absolutely. Cody said, "Yeah, I think that SMU is going to be a force. They're pretty much a force every year. They're 8-9 wins every single year, I think. So they may take that next step this year as well.
All right, hey, since Cody's here talking about Ole Miss in the portal, I want to just kind of look at some of their guys they have real
Yeah,
quick. Of course, Zach Evans, the running back, Jackson Dart, Michael Triggs, a great
that's
player.
it.
They got a couple guys from Auburn, Ladarius Tennyson and
Hmm.
Jeremiah Pegues. So they've done a really solid job of hitting the portal, creating some depth. I think the Ole Miss fans are really happy with what Lane's doing in the portal. It's the portal is different for each and every team because you look at Alabama, they have to be a little more selective because they sign more 4 and 5 stars, in a class than in one class than what Ole Miss will in 3 or 4 classes.
Right,
So they have to be a little more, and that's no knock on Ole Miss, man. It's just the way it is. So Alabama has to be more selective, but you look at Ole Miss has I listed what 8, 7, 8, 10 guys from the portal. Alabama's got 3 that they've landed so far, but all 3 are impact dudes. I mean,
right.
Jameer Gibbs will be the starting running back. Will probably lead the Alabama team in total touches this upcoming season. Jermaine Burton's probably going to be wide receiver 1 from Georgia. So they bring these guys in. Eli Ricks is going to be one of the starting cornerbacks. He was a freshman All-American at LSU. So it's different types of guys from the portal. Ole Miss got some guys that are instant impact, but they can also go to the portal to create some depth that Alabama takes care of, with signing classes. So that's what makes the portal great. It helps each team out in the way that they need it to help them out. So I think the portal is a great thing. I think there's probably going to be some type of restrictions coming on
Oh
some of
yeah,
this soon because it's kind of the wild west in the transfer portal right now.
it is. It's fun right now while it's lasting because, like you said, there's probably gonna be some kind of restriction come up in the next couple of years. And I mean, I understand, but right now while it's going on, it's fun to watch because I mean, you know, nobody's guaranteed to stay on your team unless you're a starter, pretty
Yeah.
much. You know,
Yeah.
so I mean, you're going to have players who want to start, who's second, third, especially at Alabama.
Right.
Setting second, third, string that, the guy in front of them, maybe not, he's not leaving for the NFL this year. He's coming back, so they may say, well, I want some playing time now. I mean, like Will Sanders or Drew Sanders. I mean, I don't blame him at all for going in the portal, especially with Dallas Turner coming on late in the season like he did. So,
Right, right. I mean,
mhm.
it's helping. Like I said, it's helping each team out the way that it needs to help them out right now. But I am interested to see how it's kind of governed moving forward because I do think there's going to be some changes made.
Absolutely. And you brought up Auburn. We'll touch on this real quick, but I'm going to say that was a big win for Brian Harson. He overcome the boosters, and I mean, and they pretty much just said, okay, then we're going to ride with our guy, and that's the way it ought to be because there was no evidence whatsoever that was brought in and dug up that said he had that inappropriate relationship with that girl. So they tried everything they could to get rid of him, and they failed. So Harson,
Well, and say to me, there's still no winner in this.
okay,
And
hmm,
I mean, how can Harson be a winner when he's only keeping his job because they couldn't find anything
well,
and so they're only not firing him because they can't afford to pay his buyout.
yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point and a true point.
I mean,
No,
th- no, they handled that horrifically. I mean,
it did.
I don't know how they can even look with a straight face in Harson's eyes and say, "Yeah, you're our guy."
Right.
After they did all they could do, trying to drag his name through the mud and just because they can't afford his buyout, they said, "Oh, well, I guess you're going to be our head coach still." I mean, I don't know that's embarrassing.
It
I mean,
is.
I'm sorry, and it's sorry by Auburn University. It just shows how fickle that administration is, that booster club is. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't even want to talk about it anymore because I'm not even an Auburn fan, but it pisses me off the way they done Brian Harsin.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
He's literally only there as their head coach because they can't afford to fire him
Right.
after
Yep.
they try to drag his name through the mud.
Yeah, absolutely. And I brought it.
I mean, it makes me despise Auburn even more.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. I brought up on Twitter the other day, and I got a lot of feedback from Auburn fans, especially. But I asked, I said, how can Brian Harson, want to stay there just
Yeah.
because
Well, the
his
money.
character, right? That's all they said, because $18 million reasons why. And okay, I understand that, but my character, my integrity was just thrown into the toilet and flushed down the drain. I mean, how do you rebound from that? And I guess if he wins next year, I don't know if he's going to win 6 games next year, to be honest.
Well, I mean, yeah,
You
winning
know,
cures everything, but
right?
how does Brian Harsin go into a recruit's home and explain this? Because
Exactly.
the boosters don't have to do that. The administration doesn't have to do that. It's Brian
Mhm.
Harsin.
Yeah,
Brian Harsin has to go into a young man's home, and when their mother looks at him and says, "Coach, what happened back in January and February?
yeah,
Why
exactly.
why were they saying this was going on? Why were they saying that was going on?"
Yeah, just it's not a good look at all for Auburn, and
I mean, how is he going to recruit? He's
eh,
already. I mean, the recruiting was already pretty bad for Auburn standards.
yeah,
I mean, I don't see how it's going to get better.
it's going to get worse.
I don't know.
So
He's in a bad situation. Like you said, winning could cure a lot, but with their current roster and how it's looking, I don't see how they finish above anybody in the SEC West next season.
I know it. They're going to have to give it to Tank 40 times a game if they're going to be successful, and that's going to.
Who's going to block for him?
Exactly. They have nobody to block for him. So it's not good right now down there. Cody said the portal is helping, but it will become a money grab situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's why I think there's fixing to be some governing going on between in the portal because uh, it has a chance to get way out of hand if we're
Yeah.
not careful. So it's interesting to that's going to be the most interesting thing to follow, that and NIL moving forward. So there's a lot happening there.
Absolutely. You got anything else you want to add to the Super Bowl?
No, I was proud of Bama alum Ashawn Robinson, Jake.
Dude.
He was a monster in the middle of that. I mean, really, the Rams won because of how. I mean, not just because, but one of the reasons the Rams won was because of how well Ashawn Robinson played in the middle of that defense. You know, alongside Aaron Donald on the defensive line. Five solo tackles, six total tackles, had a sack, a couple tackles for loss. He was just really dominant in the running game,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a big part of that Rams defensive effort against Joe Burrow. So really proud of him. He did a great job, and excited that he got him a Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. Got two things real quick. First one is after his big performance, that picture again of him sitting beside Derrick Henry recirculated, and I'm like, Derrick Henry is a monster, but Ashawn Robinson like swallows him whole. I mean,
Yeah.
that dude is massive. I'm like, good night. It's crazy to see that. And the other thing is, there was also after the Super Bowl, somebody had did like a little mock draft for the Bengals, and like all their draft picks was tackles, guards, and centers, because they need help bad on
They
that
need
offensive
help.
line. So
They do need help.
so it's gonna be fun. The draft come draft. I think it's in June, might be April, um, draft time. We'll see how everything plays out. But
Yeah, the NFL draft's the end of April.
okay, April. I was thinking about the NBA. I
Yeah,
think is like in
NBA's in
June.
June.
Yeah. So, moving forward, we're going to talk a little bit about SEC hoops before we get off here. You know, Alabama. Since we're Bama fans, we're going to start off with them. They got a big win against Arkansas. Uh, I kind of had a feeling Arkansas would come in pretty hype after beating Auburn, and they kind of started out flat, and they slowly got back in the game, and there was a stretch there. Alabama, I think I saw didn't score like 7 minutes late in the second half, and they pretty much let Arkansas back in it, but they held their ground and they got a 1-point win, which was huge for the confidence level for Alabama. We need to take care of business tomorrow night against Mississippi State, and then Saturday, Stacey, we go to Rupp Arena, and I
Right.
expect it to be sold out, and I expect
Oh
it to
yeah.
be a good game. I mean, honestly, um, I mean, Kentucky did beat us down at home by 11, but that was our worst shooting performance
Historically
ever.
bad shooting night. Yeah.
Yeah, and we only lost by 11. So if we get a couple of shots to go down, and there's a chance Tata doesn't play because I think he's still kind of banged up. There's a chance Alabama could win, but it's going to be tough. Well,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, just touching on the Arkansas game real quick,
Hmm.
Alabama committed 24 turnovers. They were
Mm.
called for 22 fouls. How they won that game, I have no idea.
Yeah.
They had a 13-point lead in the second half and blew that. If it
Hmm.
wasn't for a couple clutch baskets from Noah Gurley there down the stretch for Alabama, they lose that game. But a win is a win. You take them any way you can get them, especially this time of the year in conference play. And they're sitting at 500 right now in conference play. They host Mississippi State tomorrow night. If they can get that win, move above 500 in SEC play, then they travel to Rupp Arena and kind of see what happens there. But I like where the Alabama team is going because I think defensively they're getting better. Last week against Ole Miss, they found their shot finally.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite there against Arkansas, but I really like the way the team's trajecting. So I'm excited. I'm not saying they're going to beat Kentucky, but I think they can hang with them. And who knows what can happen late in the contest. And like you said, if Tata doesn't play, then it makes it a little bit more easier
Yeah.
playing those Kentucky Wildcats. But they're a great team. They're playing right now. Actually, they're down 12 to Tennessee right now on the
Oh,
road.
wow.
So something to follow there. But as far as some of the other teams around the SEC, Auburn is obviously still one of the better teams. Another reason it was a big win for Alabama against Arkansas is that Arkansas was really about one of the hottest teams in the country in that point in time. They had won
Yeah.
9 in a row, so Alabama gets that win. Uh, Cody, I'm sorry, man. Ole
Mhm.
Miss got that heartbreaking half-court loss just a little
Man.
bit ago to South Carolina in overtime on that buzzer beater. It's been a rough season for Ole Miss. I'm really surprised. I thought Kermit Davis would do a little bit better job there in Oxford. Um, Auburn is number 1 and Kentucky is not. Uh, it's strange. I think at this moment, I would say that they're probably neck and neck. And I say that because Kentucky lost a close one down there uh, at Auburn without Ty, correct?
Yeah.
Without
Tata
Ty without
Mhm.
Ty and Severe Wheeler, correct?
Yeah, they both got injured in that game, and they was both
Right,
out in the second half, so,
right. So
you know.
I mean, that you can't really. I feel like Kentucky is see, and I didn't. I wasn't aware of all the injuries
Yeah,
of Ole Miss, but yeah, and I think Kermit's a really good coach,
I do too.
but he's kind of there at a bad time with what Auburn's doing. Nate Oates is killing it on the recruiting trail right now at Alabama. Arkansas is a top level program, so it's not easy right now to coach in the SEC. So especially when the teams in the surrounding states are really really good.
Absolutely. You know, Tennessee looks really good. Kentucky, of course, on the eastern side as well. Um, but out including Alabama, you would probably have about 7 teams in the NCAA tournament from
Right,
the
right,
SEC. So it's it's deep right now in SEC basketball, just like it is football, especially on the western side. Western side basketball hasn't really picked up besides Alabama, Auburn, and Arkansas, but give him time. And I hate that it may cost Kermit his job, but I mean you can't think you're gonna have a bunch of injuries coming into the year, and especially some of your best players. You know, I mean, when Ruffin was in, I mean, that's a totally different team.
right.
When he's out, I don't know, it's bad. Joyner, I think for them, I really like. He had a big game against us, and I mean,
Yeah,
he's the only
yeah.
reason they stayed in that game,
Yeah.
honestly. But he's got a bright future. But Cody said three of the starters out. That's rough, man. That's crazy. You don't, it's
It's hard to
crazy.
survive that.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, and that's another thing that from the Alabama perspective that I don't think a lot of people remember. Namari Burnett has not
Yeah,
played a single game for Alabama this year. The former 5-star guard. I mean, just think how much better the backcourt would be for Alabama if they had Namari Burnett either starting
right.
or playing 20 plus minutes a game. So that would have helped with JD Davidson's development as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think people are paying that enough attention. So uh, and I kind of went on a rant last week before the Alabama played Ole Miss right after they played Kentucky. You see all these fans on the internet talking about how they need to fire Nate Oates and
Yeah.
all this kind of garbage. And now they've won 2 in a row. They have a chance to move above 500 in SEC play. They're sitting at like a 5 or 6 seed in the tournament right now, according to Joe
Hmm.
Lunardi. So, what? I don't know what these idiots are watching. I don't
Right.
know if they think that you're supposed to, be Duke or every year. That's not how it works. You need to go back and look and see how long it took Mike Krzyzewski to build his program. Look how long it took Bruce Pearl to build his program. So, I mean,
Hmm.
he hadn't even finished 3-4 years yet, and people are wanting to fire him. And I'm sorry if Ole Miss fires Kermit Davis, they're taking steps backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, who they gonna hire?
Right. Exactly. Who's a better coach than Kermit out there? On the block right now.
That Ole
If
Miss
they
can
fight.
get.
Right. Exactly. Nobody. I don't think.
Cody, if you know somebody,
Yeah.
throw it out there. But I'm just uh, with all the injuries at Ole Miss, you don't have your point guard. When you don't have your point guard in college basketball, I'm sorry, you're
Hmm.
screwed.
Yeah.
You're
Absolutely.
screwed.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't care if you have John Wooden as your coach.
Right.
So we've gotten so fire happy in this modern age of college athletics that um, it's sickening.
Yeah. It is. Um. Before we get off here, Stacy, we've gone about 30 minutes, close to it. We'll talk more on our show this week, Todd Talk podcast. But I just want to give a shout out. Team 26, man, looks like they're a force this year,
Yeah.
and I'm excited. We won't touch more about it here. George Kramer has joined and says if Auburn wins the Natty in basketball, will the other conferences scream SEC bias?
Probably.
Probably. I
Probably
don't think
so.
that. I mean, Auburn's good, but I mean, I think with Ty in the game, you know, during that Kentucky game, they're looking at an L potentially. So and
Well,
they struggled, against Missouri and struggled against Georgia, which Alabama lost to Georgia and Missouri both
I'm
too. But
wondering if Auburn peaked too early.
yeah, we talk
You
about
know,
that.
we've talked about that before. Alabama peaked too early last year,
Yeah.
um, and they were playing their best basketball of the season around this time of the year, and Auburn was playing their best basketball. The last couple games of non-conference, then leading into the conference schedule. So, um, who knows? That can be that you just have to wait and see on that, but. Winning a national championship in college basketball is so tough. You
Oh
got to beat
yeah.
so many good teams, and
Hmm.
everything. Things have to go your way. So that's why I am never betting anything on who's going to win the national championship in college basketball.
Oh yeah. We talk, a lot about how it's different in college basketball than it is college football. In college football, you do have four teams who are above the rest. That's why they're in the top. That's why they're in the playoff every year. And then in basketball, if you get a good matchup,
Yep.
anybody can beat anybody. And we're talking about Alabama. If Alabama gets in a good region and gets to matchups, they could be sitting in a Sweet 16 just like that again.
Right. Right.
And that goes with anybody per se, though. So, if Auburn gets in a region, they're probably going to be a 1 seed if they win the SEC.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean
Yeah,
they're going to have to fall apart to not be a one
yeah,
seed.
absolutely. So, they depending on what region they get, they should, make it to at least probably the Elite Eight, and then we'll go from there. But or I mean, a couple years ago when they got in, they struggled against New Mexico State. I think in the second round, New Mexico State had a shot there. I think in overtime to beat them, and this didn't go down. So anything can happen in basketball. And that's why I love March Madness. It's so fun because anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah, I mean basketball is such a different type sport than any other sport. So I think that's what makes it fun as well, and I think that's why March Madness is one of the most kind of anticipated events of each and every year. So yeah, it's
Absolutely.
it's definitely fun.
Absolutely, man. Cody said the coach at Florida is an Ole Miss grad, I think. Um, that maybe they can pull him from Florida. Who knows? But anyway, if you ain't got anything else, Stacy, then we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you all for joining and getting in the chat. We Cody said White, okay.
Is he
But
really? He's from Ole Miss?
Cody said he is. He thinks. I don't know. I don't know if he is or not. But anyway, Stacey, you got anything else you want to add?
I seen his comment on SEC baseball. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Next week we'll talk baseball next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Cody.
Yeah.
How's that
Absolutely.
sound? How's that sound?
Yeah. Yeah. Get the tournament. I think there's a bunch of tournaments going on this weekend to get it fired up. So we'll check out some SEC baseball next week. Softball is getting started up, like we said. So we've got a lot to talk about moving forward. We do love our football, but right now we're kind of in the lull. If anything breaks football wise, of course we'll bring it here.
Right.
And but anyway, thank y'all for joining tonight, guys. Appreciate it as always. Follow us on on Y'all's Conference Network on YouTube. Me and Stacy have joined our podcast. Tide Talk is over there as well. SEC After Dark, of course, is the top tier channel on that conference. You catch me on there tomorrow night with the guys. Stacy be in the chat as always. Cody's always on the chat. So there's a lot going on, a lot of great things going on at Y'all's Conference Network. So join the fun. If you taught sports or know somebody that taught sports, especially we're still looking for like a Mississippi State podcast, Auburn podcast, any podcast who hasn't got in on the SEC, in the SEC region hasn't got on, and they might be interested in joining. Let us know. We'll be glad to set them up. And we're just going to be a conference for y'all, as we call it, the Y'all's Conference Network. So this is Best of the West. As for me, Jake, Stacy, thank y'all for joining, and we'll see y'all next week at this time again next week. Appreciate it, guys. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.